evening. I'd like to call to order the regular scheduled council meeting for Monday, June 18th at 7 p.m. Our first order of business is our opening ceremony, which consists of the national anthem, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for those members that have given their lives while defending our country. Would everybody please stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Madam Clerk Bettis, can you take the roll, please?
Good evening, Your Honor. Mayor Walker?
Here.
Councilmember Jacobs?
Here.
Councilmember Lynch? Councilmember Squires? Councilmember Earl?
Here.
Councilmember McCarge? Councilmember Kerwin?
Here.
Show Councilmember McCarge, Councilmember Lynch, and Councilmember Squires absent and excused, please.
I will, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item 4, approval of the agenda with the elimination of item B4. We're going to bring that up at another meeting when we have a full council. We have too many absent tonight, so I'm going to pull number 4. So approval of the agenda with elimination of that one.
Mayor, I move to approve the agenda minus B4. Support.
Okay, motion and support. Any discussion from the table? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, motion passes 4-0. Okay, we'll move on to item 5, community events. I have a presentation for Fuad's Barbershop. If I could get George to come up to the podium. Got a resolution of recognition adopted by the City Council of the City of Garden City, Michigan on June 18th, 2018, honoring Fuad's Barbershop. Whereas this marks the 50th anniversary of Fuad's Barbershop in our city, established by its founder, Fuad Quasis, in 1968. And whereas Fuad's Barbershop officially opened for business at 32927 Warren Road, then after 32 years moved to 33205 Ford Road, and for 50 years has been an integral part of the continued growth and prosperity of our community. And whereas Fuad's Barbershop has always encouraged its leaders and employees to take an active part in civic affairs and to support of community projects and organization. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of Garden City congratulates Fuad's Barbershop for 50 years of business and for the many contributions and services to our community, with best wishes for many years of continued success in the future. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Fuad's is on Ford Road, just west of Vinoy. I've had my hair cut there several times. It's a great barbershop. You got a great business. We're glad to have you in our city. Let's do a photo op up over here in the center. to say anything at the podium about your business, or?
I just want to basically tell everybody, thank you for your support and many years of business in Garden City, and it's a great city, and we have a great mayor that does a heck of a job. But I know he really cares about the community, and that's why we're still here after 50 years of being in business. Thank you.
This business was started by his dad, and now he's taken it over, so it's been a family business for 50 years. So congratulations, George. Thank you.
Mayor.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Next, I'll call up Monica Fulton. She has a presentation or some information for us. Community Resource Department.
Hi, thank you, Mayor and Council. Just a couple things tonight. I want to give you an update on the status of the fitness court fundraiser on Patronicity. We are now up to $34,335. We have 29 days left to reach $50,000, and I know we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We have some sponsors I'd like to just announce, the new sponsors. A new silver sponsor is FPJ Investments, who does some business here in town. We have a number of new varsity sponsors: Glenn Anderson, County Commissioner; Allison Bettis, our City Clerk; Chai Burns and Robert Cox, two realtors in town. So thank you very much to them for being varsity sponsors new this week. And also we have some fitness champions: Dan York, our Communications Director, and SoCal Restaurant in town, our new fitness champion sponsors. So thank you very much to them. This week, right now, anyone who donates $50 or more through Thursday evening will be entered into a raffle to win a free small pavilion rental at Garden City Park. So if you were looking for a reason to donate and you need a pavilion this summer, go ahead and donate, and we'll throw your name in a hat. We'll make the drawing Friday morning and announce the winner on Facebook. Also tonight, Sports Venue is doing a fundraiser for the fitness court. A portion of your bill today will be donated to the fitness court, so we're very thankful to Sports Venue for taking the Make a Difference Mondays for us. Next up, I have a couple announcements for the senior, from the senior program. Tomorrow at 12:30, a very interesting and important lunch and learn will be provided by the State of Michigan's Attorney General's Office. Phone, mail, and e-scams. They're going to be talking to seniors and anyone really who is interested in this topic about the telltale signs of scams, just not only in the emails, but phone and the regular mail and texts. They're coming through on texts now, so they're going to really educate people on what the telltale signs of a scam are, so we don't get caught up in that. And they're going to teach us how to minimize our risk of being scammed. So that's tomorrow at 12:30. It is a free lunch and learn. You can bring a bag lunch if you like, but it starts at 12:30, and it'll be in the community room at Maplewood Center. So I encourage everybody to come out. And lastly, the Senior Center is sponsoring a trip down to the Detroit Tigers game on Thursday, June 28th. Tickets are still available. We're going to take a nice, comfortable bus ride down. They're going to drop us off right outside the gate where we need to go in at. And we are in a covered section, section 114. Your ticket includes hot dog and chips and soda or water, and your ticket and your bus ride down there. So get your tickets now at Maplewood Center. They're available at the information desk. Each ticket is $44 and covers your free ride down there and back, ticket and lunch. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have comments from state and county officials. I don't see anybody here from the state or county tonight. So we'll move on to item 7, communications. As promised, I would start each council meeting, give an update what's going on in the city. The 4x4 program, 4 blocks in 4 weeks, is in full swing. We're still doing the area 4 to Maplewood to the north and Middle Belt to Harrison to the east. The DPS workers are trimming city trees, replacing missing street signs or faded stop signs, yield signs, painting crosswalks. Code compliance warnings are going out. Replacement of street lights that are burnt out. Basically focusing on any blight, and we're going to do this 4x4 program and go around the whole city. But that is in full swing. Sidewalk discussion. We listened to the people that came at the last meeting, and we are going to make some changes, and that will be brought up by the city manager later in the meeting today. So we will be making changes based on the last meeting. The roads, residents will be receiving their water bills before August 7th, and there will be a informational letter in the water bill explaining the road millage, how it's going to affect you. And basically, we're going after $15 million for 5 years. And if this passes, if the residents vote yes, there'll be no more assessments. That's the biggest question I'm getting. The assessments will go away. The roads will, from now on, will get fixed from the bond money that we're borrowing. There will be no more assessments if you vote yes on the road millage. There'll also be some informational town hall meetings that we're going to do in the month of July. We want to get everybody informed before they vote on August 7th. But look for the informational letter in your water bill, and everyone will receive that. All 27,000 residents will receive that before the August 7th primary election. Planet Fitness at the old Kroger building, it's still in progress. They're moving pretty quick. They're under construction, and that's moving right along. And I believe that's all I have for tonight. So that's what's going on in Garden City right now. Moving on to item 8, we'll have the public hearing for the text amendment zoning. But first, I'm going to call up Sarah Traxler from McKenna to explain this to everybody. How you doing, Sarah?
I'm well. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for asking me to introduce the ordinance, proposed ordinance. It's funny that this is in front of you right now because in another one of my inner ring suburb communities, we're looking at this 2.5 versus 3-story issue. For those who haven't read through the materials, there's 2 proposed changes to your multiple family residential district. The first is to change the language to allow for 3-story buildings. Currently, it allows for 2.5-story buildings as the highest height. We're not proposing to change the feet height from 35 to something larger, but basically this is a kind of an obsolete holdover from zoning ordinances of yesteryear, where it was more in fashion to have those half stories underground rather than the full first story at grade level. So the pertinent part of that is that the height of buildings in the multiple family residential district isn't proposing to be increased, but rather just the terminology saying that it can be 3 full stories above ground. The second major change to this ordinance is to propose that instead of requiring single-family residential uses that are proposed for your multiple family residential district to go through the special land use process, the Planning Commission is recommending that you allow single-family residences in your multiple family district by right. So rather than going through the special land use process, they're proposing that you allow single-family residences to be constructed in your multifamily district if an applicant wishes to do so by right. I think that that's appropriate also because, as Patrick has shared with me, there are a handful or a number of single-family residences already in your multiple family districts. So another benefit of these proposed changes would be that you'd be bringing these non-conforming, uses into conformance without making them go through a special land use in the future if they wanted to expand the rear of their house or something like that. So. As I mentioned, the Planning Commission held their required public hearing and are recommending approval. I think these are really modest changes that are, I would say, a little bit more of housekeeping rather than, really proposing to change the character of your R3 multiple family districts.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody wishing to speak on this under the public hearing, text amendment zoning? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Move on to item 9, the consent agenda as presented.
Mayor,
Councilmember Earl.
I'd like to move to approve items 1 through 3 of the consent agenda as presented. And if I could read number 3.
Yep, go ahead.
It's a mayoral appointment for the Recreation Commission. Paul Matthews will be completing a vacated seat term that expires 3/31 of 19.
Okay. Support from Councilmember Jacobs. Any comments from the table? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Now we move on to our action items. B1, zoning text amendment for R3 multiple family residential district. This is the subject of our public hearing we just had.
Mayor,
Councilmember Jacobs.
I move to adopt an ordinance to amend sections 154.241B1 and 154-.242B and Appendix A, R3 Multiple Family Residential District, City of Garden City zoning ordinance.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Earl. Any discussion from the table, from the general public?
Question, what is that?
That's for the multiple story going from 2.5 to 3 stories, what she just explained under the public hearing. Changing the zoning. Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes 4-0. Item 2, supplemental appropriation state revolving fund for sewer lining project. We're going to call up Kevin Roney first. to
Good
explain
evening,
that.
council.
Morning, sir.
This is a budgetary year-end housekeeping item that I'm having to do to explain it a little for the folks at home. 2 years ago, we started a $4.7 million project lining sewers throughout the city. It's been 2 years. One contract's totally done, the other one is finishing up. The job has gone very well. I was looking at the accounts recently to pay the bills, and I realized that I had not, at the end of last budget year, carried over the approved money for it. So the money left the budget account, went into the fund. In keeping with proper practice, we can't just transfer it back. We have to come for council approval. So this is a supplemental appropriation that'll take that money that's been approved and move it back into the budget account.
Just moving it from one account to another so we can
Correct.
pay the bill. That's those liquid force trucks you've seen all over the city lining our sewers. Okay, thank you, sir. Motion's in order.
Mayor,
Councilmember Jacobs.
I approve supplemental appropriation in amount of $1,347,414 for SRF project in accordance with attached memo dated June 12, 2018.
Support.
Support from Councilmember Kerwin. And for the residents, this money comes out of the water fund, part of your water bill that you pay. So it's not out of the general fund. It's paid out of the water fund. Any other comments from the table, from the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes 4-0. Item 3, extension of existing contract with Liquid Force Services for emergency sewer repair services. Mr. Roney.
Liquiforce was one of the 2 contractors used on that program, and we inquired of them if they would be willing to extend their prices for 2 years. They gave us good bid prices, and under certain circumstances, they can come in and do the job a lot cheaper than hiring a typical open excavation contractor. So they held their prices the same for 2 years, and I'm requesting that we be allowed to use them for the next 2 years, and I did put a dollar cap in there so that it's not an open-ended.
So this is if we have a sewer collapse, emergency repair, this will be already in place, so you can just call them up and say, come on and do it.
Correct.
For the price that was agreed upon, which we're
Correct.
going to, okay.
So you're
very good.
basically locking in the price.
Correct.
Locking in the price. This is not to pay anything now, it's just if we need them.
If we need them.
Okay. Motion's in order.
Mayor?
Councilmember Kerwin.
I motion to approve an extension of the existing contract with Liquiforce Services through June 30th, 2020, in an amount not to exceed $40,000 per fiscal year, in accordance with the correspondence from Hennessy and Engineers Incorporated, dated May 16th, 2018.
Support.
Support for Councilmember Earl. Any further discussion from the table? From the general public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes 4-0. Okay, 4 was removed. We'll move on to 5, discussion of the sidewalk program. City Manager, Mr. Doherty.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I wanted to reiterate what you had mentioned earlier and thanking the residents who came to the last council meeting to express their concerns and opinions on the current sidewalk program. it really is a valuable program. It reduces blight throughout our neighborhoods, as well as reduces liability of not only the homeowners, but also the city when it comes to potential tripping hazards and as such. That being said, it was after hearing the passionate pleas of the residents, the next day I was able to talk to the mayor and each of the council members. And to the person, they all had the same concern of that we really need to reevaluate the whole program overall. Even Councilman Earl, the next couple of days, went out and took some pictures for us of some areas that truly are concerns that need to be addressed, as well as some areas that may be somewhat in question when we talk about consistency. And I believe a day or two after that, he went out and met one of the residents, Tony, is it? That went out and walked around with one of the concerned residents from the last meeting to just see what his issues were and kind of look at the comparison of what's needed and what may be able to be passed on at this current time. So, but truth be known, there are a number of sidewalk issues throughout our community that are really much a concern. But it was a few days ago, maybe a week ago, when the DPS director, Kevin Maroney, who just spoke, came to my office to discuss some suggestions that he had for the future. Other than those that are currently, you're looking at 2, 3, 4-inch lips that tree roots are pushing up, that even a bicycle could, break its rim trying to go across. Those issues we're going to still focus on, but at this moment we made the decision to hold on to the program at this point, not to move forward with enforcing it with the residents until we come up with a proper solution as far as policy, a more consistent policy of where we're going. One of Kevin's suggestions to me was looking at grinding instead of replacing every sidewalk square. If it's up maybe an inch or so, down in Florida and other places I've lived, a lot of grinding was done, which instead of pulling out the concrete slab, reforming it, having concrete trucks come in, it's really just grinding off that edge so it matches the last sidewalk. So you've gotten rid of the tripping hazard at a much lower cost than it would be when it comes to the regular sidewalk program, which that's a great savings. Kevin also mentioned limiting the number of squares per house. So we're currently, and some of the residents stood up where they had potential bills of $2,000, $3,000, might have been 15, 18, 20 squares. Maybe we look at a limit of 4 or possibly 6 per household. Now, unless the Incredible Hulk himself went running down the sidewalk and destroyed that many, we probably can look at the worst ones and look at 4 or 6 per home, and then maybe the next year we have to evaluate some more. But of those 4 or 6, they may be able to just be grinded rather than actually replaced. So the cost could be drastically reduced. So overall, we're looking at reevaluating the whole program of even what are our minimums, or maximums. Is it a half an inch, 1 inch? Where are we overall? And it really comes about only because of the citizens' concerns coming to the microphone and expressing the concern of continuity across the plan and the neighborhoods. So I just want to say at this point, it's not much of a discussion. I don't want to take up too much more time, but we heard the concerns, the council heard and the mayor heard the concerns, and together we're working, staff and administration up into the elected officials to move forward and come up with a better program, something that everybody can understand, something with parameters, with the sensitivity for the residents, not offering them a large bill, but at the same time using some common sense in our overall program to create something great for the future. So that's where we are with the sidewalk program at this point.
Okay. Anybody, and I think it's great that we went out there and that we are reevaluating this and come back at a later time or next summer or whatever, but there was a lot of issues. I went out there myself and I couldn't believe some of them that had the orange paint on them. So we'll start over. We'll reevaluate and start over unless it's the real big one, an obvious major trip hazard, 2-3 inches. Those are going to have to be fixed. So I hope that answers the questions of anybody that was here for sidewalks. Any further discussion from any council members?
I think it's great that we're reevaluating.
Okay. Moving on to public comments. Anybody wishing to speak, come up to the podium. State your name. There is a 3-minute time limit.
Denise Quiz. I live on James Street in the whole area of between Maplewood and Craig and Moeller, Hubbard, that whole area. I walk that area a lot with my dog, and I have seen a lot of the orange dots, and I do agree with you. Some are minimal, and others are really busted up. And to have the city hold this whole thing off for next year, I think is very lax. This has been an ongoing problem since we've lived in the area. And there are so many areas that are just horrible that I have to constantly look ahead of myself to make sure I don't trip. And my mother recently passed away. She could not even walk around our block to get exercise at her age because of the hazards in the area. We have no crosswalks to go from street to street. It's all grass. If you want to take a walk after it rained, it's muddy. There's a lot of busted roads in our area, down James Street. If it rains, you're looking at mud. There's some corner houses that the whole area is just muddy. It's all rutted after it rains. It looks horrible. If anybody was looking into the city to buy a house in that environment, I just don't see how they would stay and go down each street to continue looking for homes to live in this area. The homes are still affordable. That's great for people and families. But we need to, keep this up to make these families get attracted to the area. And roads is serious. I mean, it's a national problem, it's a local problem, and I think putting this off till next summer is very lax, and I just hope it gets done sooner. Thank you.
Just to clarify, we're not putting it off. We're still focused on the hazards, the real problems that we have, because it is liability. As I mentioned, it's right now just every sidewalk where it's a half an inch, quarter inch.
I get
the
that.
hazards, we're taking care of.
I get
So
that,
we're not
but then
putting
the
it
major roads too is a big
Yes, and
problem.
that, as the
We've
mayor
got
mentioned
lots of
earlier,
problems.
Yeah.
And I hope the city really thinks about firework enforcement this year, because that's coming up. And that's another horrible thing that goes on in our area too.
Yep.
People not observing the ordinance.
Yep. Now, we're going to go after the obvious trip hazards, but we do have some housekeeping to do. The council's going to have to decide at a later date whether we want to get rid of the grandfather clause and make everybody have sidewalks. We need to bring that up, because that's what they're talking. You're walking down a sidewalk, then there's grass, and then there's another sidewalk. We need to agree or disagree whether we're going to implement the sidewalk program where those who do not have sidewalks have to get one. And that will have to be a vote. That's why I said it may not all get done this year, because we got to do some housekeeping ordinances and stuff like that. But the obvious trip hazards, we're going to correct those.
And August 7th is the roads vote.
And on August 7th, the residents tell us if they want to fix the roads by voting yes on the road millage, and that will take care of the roads. But we got to decide what we want to do with the people that do not have sidewalks. So we'll have to put that on a future meeting for a vote, and then maybe give them so much time to do it, But, talking about grandfather, this goes on for years and years. We need to make up as a council whether we're going to pursue it or let them be grandfathered forever. I mean, I think with ADA, American Disabilities Act, to make it a walkable town for people in wheelchairs, kids on bikes, I think we need to have sidewalks.
Did they get to vote last time? Did the residents get to vote whether they wanted?
Not on sidewalks,
Not on
no,
that,
that's a
okay.
council, that'd be a council vote. But anyway, that's enough discussion on that. We will get with that. Mr. Bacco.
6916 High Court. Big service cement north on that house. Drop, that much drop. I better bike over there, bounce up and down.
Leave the address with Ms. Bettis. Leave the address, okay? We'll look into it. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am, in the back. Ladies first, Mr. Mullen.
Just want to thank you for reevaluating the sidewalk program. I was proactive, and my son-in-law took time this weekend and ground down my little trip hazards of a half inch. And what a difference. I mean, it took them maybe 2.5 hours, because one was up a little over an inch, and that one took the longest. But the ones that are a half inch or less, just grind it down. We rented a 7-inch hand grinder for $132. And so if neighbors went, together on this, they could get 4 or 5 houses easily, depending on what their trip hazards were.
Absolutely.
So yes, being proactive. Now, since I did that, do I have to turn my address in to get taken off your roll as being checked on now, or Or do I just wait until next time?
You'll be fine.
Okay. She had mentioned the fireworks. How do we enforce this? We can call the non-emergency police number and nobody shows up because obviously they're busy. I handed out some flyers last year to some of my neighbors who aggravated us and copied it off the website, and we had no fireworks at one certain house, so that was really nice. But what can we do as citizens to stop the aggravation of fireworks? Also, on the sidewalk program, some of the sidewalks that were marked had I think it's the water meter or the water shutoff valve that pops up out of the sidewalk. Mine's on my lawn, so now it's popped up out of my lawn. How will that be addressed for these residents who had their sidewalks marked, but it's not really the
They
sidewalk?
can turn that
it's
address into the DPS. DPS will come and take care of that.
Okay.
Just tell them that your water,
Oh, it's not mine, but I mean,
no,
just from walking
if they're
around.
popped up, they can hammer them down.
Oh, really?
Yep. DPS takes care of that.
Hammering may not be the word.
So for me.
No, I've seen them hammer them down.
I just don't want you to break something, but, so I could call them out and they'll lower that's on my grass so I don't keep hitting it with a lawnmower.
Okay.
That's cool. But thank you very much for reevaluating the sidewalk program. It needed it, so thank you. And also the sidewalk, no sidewalk problem, and the trying to cross the streets, those are major issues that really need to be addressed and
Absolutely.
worked
And
on.
we are going to address those.
Sorry, thank you.
For possibly good information, maybe the Police Chief Gibbons can just mention the fireworks in the process for
Yep.
everybody at home to understand what we deal with every year.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to speak on this. It's come up a couple times, fireworks. You know, I think we've all noticed a marked increase in fireworks activity ever since the state legislature passed the rule that allowed consumer fireworks in Michigan. One of the difficult problems that presents is where it used to be just illegal to possess and very simple to enforce. If you have it, we take it because you can't have it. Now we have to catch you in the act. So what we do every year during this time of year is employ or bring in extra officers to enforce it. However, as a whole, the community, a large portion of the community decide they're going to shoot fireworks off. It does become a bit difficult to enforce all at once when you have that mass of people participating in celebrating the 4th of July and holidays like it. However, we're going to do our best to be there on the spot and try and catch them in the act and stop it from happening. So don't let any law changes hesitate you from calling. Yes, there's an ordinance that prohibits shooting off fireworks within 200 feet of a residence, which includes large swaths of the city as we're a residential town. So there's not, I don't know of any, that doesn't at least include that, because you also can't shoot it off on public property. That said, call our non-emergency number. We know we'll get a lot of calls. It happens every year. We're hoping that people abide by the ordinance and don't shoot the fireworks off in our town, and we'll do our best to enforce it. But realize that law change. It used to be a lot quieter on holidays before that law was changed to allow at least the possession of them. So we're going to have to catch them in the act this year, and we'll do our best. We will have extra officers out, and we'll be responding to every call as they come in.
Chief, for the residents to know, legally, the law is the day before the holiday, the day of, and the day after. So am I right?
That's correct.
So they're only allowed to fire them off on July 3rd, 4th, and 5th, but 200 feet from a residence. And is it 11 o'clock at night they got to stop, or 10?
There's times, but the key one is the distance from the residence. There's basically nowhere in town, because we are such a bedroom community, that you can legally shoot off a firework in Garden City per our ordinance.
Right.
So, but it just comes down to an enforcement aspect. I could stand there with a pile of consumer fireworks in my hand, and I'm not doing anything wrong. It's until I fire them off, and our officers have to basically conduct an investigation to establish that you did in order to take enforcement action. So you have standards of proof, who actually shot it off and where they came. So it just puts that extra burden. It used to be easy. If they were sitting in the street shooting bottle rockets off or anything up, rolling candles up in the air, the simple possession of them was easy to snag up. Now we've actually have a little bit more of a burden. So each run we go on takes a little bit longer, and as you can tell by the sounds throughout your neighborhood during those times, that's a lot going on, so it sort of bogs us down.
Nope.
But there's not one. We're going to respond to every one. We're going to check every area and be there, and we will have extra patrols to handle it.
And folks need to think of their neighbors. If you're living next door to some veterans, that they may have post-traumatic stress syndrome, those bangs going off could affect them. Please keep that into consideration, your veterans. And then people with pets and their dogs. The dogs go nuts. It hurts their ear. I've had a lot of complaints with people telling me that their dogs go crazy. Can you do anything about it? And unfortunately, up in Lansing, they voted to allow this, and we got the mess to clean up. So, but please consider your neighbors that have pets and veterans out there. But hopefully, we're out there enforcing it and put a stop to as much as we can.
Absolutely. If you are caught in violation of the ordinance, we will be issuing tickets. We will be finding individuals. I just reiterate your comments. Veterans, animals, people trying to sleep for the next day. Not everybody gets the holiday off. Us police officers are very sympathetic to that. So we really ask the citizens to cooperate, and don't let my comments prevent you from calling. Call. Let us know. We want to do our best to get on this and make a point of some strict enforcement. So, okay. Want everybody to have a great 4th of July, but be courteous to your neighbors.
Thanks, Chief.
No problem.
Anybody else wishing to speak? Mr. Molnar.
Yeah, I don't want to bust nobody on this sidewalk program, but none of y'all were even on the council up there at that time when they started the sidewalk program. They come out and they marked them. Same thing happened that happened here this time. And I'm not saying whether they were bad or not, but then you sent out a different inspector. He unmarked 2/3 of them. And this was years ago. Like I said, none of y'all were even on this council. And nothing got fixed, of course. Now we're going down the same road. It's okay to look at it. It's okay to go out and recheck the sidewalks and fix them. What I'm saying is, but if you're going down this same old slippery road again that you did 20 years ago when the sidewalks were in less worse shape than they are now, of course, and 20 years from now again, I probably won't be here, but the sidewalks will probably still be a problem. And as far as this grandfather thing is, somebody needs to find out from the lawyer or somebody. Because as far as I know, there is no such thing as a grandfather clause on sidewalks. I've heard it both ways. I've heard it from reliable sources both ways. I asked the senator about it, and he wasn't sure either. So maybe he'll get back with me and check. But it's getting ridiculous on the sidewalks. And I understand if you've got a lot of sidewalks, it's a big cost. I understand all that. But still, you're going to keep putting it off, and it's just going to get worse. And the DPS guys, they come out and rebuilt my storm drain, which was falling in, and they did a beautiful job on the cement. And if you drive around the city, you'll see several spots where Mr. Romney and the DPS guys have made repairs, something that in years past you wouldn't have saw, I guarantee you, because they didn't have enough. I don't want to mention his name, but he didn't have the manpower to do anything at that time. Everybody knows who it is.
That's the 4x4 program. Yep. Yeah. Anybody else? Mr. Richards.
I want to step up till I get my 3 minutes. I'm going to time it.
I already started.
3:10. Tony Richard, Council. Glad to be here with you. Now, I just wanted to thank Councilman Earl. He came out in the rain. He had things going on at home, but I really do appreciate that. On behalf of my neighbors also, because they were very happy to hear that you came out. Walking around, I'm sure you shared the pictures with council. It was very informative, and it wasn't just about the sidewalks, which was really nice. We kind of had a nice little talk, walked a couple of blocks. And I felt genuinely like he cared, like he was concerned about it, not just coming out here, kissing babies, shaking hands, and we don't have an election coming up in a week. So it was just really good to know that he cared, and that was cool. Also, Mr. Kearns, you're here today. For all the hassle that we heard that he wasn't getting back to anybody within 5 days, he was at my house. I happened to be at work, but he did speak with my wife. A very pleasant visit. She was very happy with it. Thank you. Answered some questions. He saw one of the spots that they had missed. He said that, you know, they're going to pick that up now that we're not too concerned about it. But at the time, I thought that was a nice gesture. He admitted their fault. We also had a little issue with our water with the valve that was sticking up. Mr. Kearns gave a call. Within an hour and a half, DPS was there, fixed it, back underground. So it's just a really, really good experience all the way around from everybody with the city, which was really cool. Not too many people can get up here and say that. Usually we're up here griping at people. You know, the whole last meeting you saw nobody had a good thing to say. It was all hate, 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 you know, you're trying to get us, but it was a really good experience all the way around from everybody, and just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you.
How much time do I have? I'm just gonna
1
stand
minute and
here.
18 seconds.
So this one time, I was walking to the store. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Richards.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Good evening, City Council. I got some questions. Robert Fitzgibbon, live on 31487 James. Who is responsible for drainage upkeep? So that the water's not standing in front of your house, it's actually going to a drain?
The DPS would have to evaluate it. It depends if it was something a homeowner did to cause it, like filling in a ditch, or it could be a number of things.
I have pictures.
I know. The best thing is leave your address, have DPS come and look at it.
I have pictures of what they did, their fix.
Okay.
You're going to laugh.
Well,
You're going to laugh. It looks like
well,
two
I'm just telling you,
10-year-olds.
the best thing to do is leave your address, sir.
Okay,
And I'll
I'm still waiting for Mr. Ryan. August 7th, you're going to send us road millage information, correct?
No. August 7th is the election.
The actual
Which
election.
will include,
Where do we get the information
And
for
it'll be
that?
in your next water bill before August 7th.
Okay,
it's on our website now. You can get it at our office.
okay.
Public meetings throughout July.
And the sidewalk dates that were given early June or late May are still in effect for the critical?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. If a homeowner does look out and see there's no problem on their sidewalk, they should probably want to take care of it, because
Yeah.
it'll still be enforced, yes.
If this millage is passed and they have to tear up this freshly replaced sidewalk by chance, or some of the approaches maybe even, because you may have to readjust your approach because you're going to have a huge trip ledge if your concrete went back one way or the other. Who's going to pay for that when they do the roads? Is that going to go back to the individuals?
Typically, if we destroy a approach, we replace the approach.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I wanted to make sure before I answered.
Mr. Rooney is shaking his head. so
Yeah,
I
we
say
would replace that.
At no cost.
The road contract, the project would take care of that. It wouldn't fall on you.
Because, I mean, there's like, I can see at least 3 caps on my road. So if they cut all that down, there's going to be some people with approach problems.
That will be handled
That
in
will be
the,
handled through that,
the project would take care of all that, the construction project.
but I want to replace my concrete. It needs to be replaced. But I have water that sits there, and DPS came out, and they provided a little, about this wide, maybe 10, 12 feet long, left all the stuff there, and that was it. That was their fix. I have a picture, you can see, I left one
30
here,
seconds.
but I have a drain that's way,
Is it the same one that you already gave me?
I have a drain, the drain is way down here, right here. There's a little X there in the top right corner.
Is it the same one, or?
I don't know.
Okay, sir,
It's the
we'll
same.
check, we'll send the DPS director out to look.
I would appreciate any help.
Absolutely.
Just, I mean, I don't want Zika or any of that
All right.
stuff. The water sits there for a long time.
We got you. Anybody else? Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. First, I'd like to apologize. We had a public safety forum at the Inkster Rec just a few minutes ago, and it just wrapped up. First, I just want to say thank you for giving me this time. I'm here on behalf of State Representative Jewel Jones, and we're just asking for your support August 7th as we run for re-election this year. It's been a great time out in Garden City, and I continue to look forward to see you guys out in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, city managers report.
Sir, thank you, Mayor. In the back row, may not be able to be seen on television, we have a couple of bleachers, pews Yeah, they're 5 high bleachers. We're looking at changing the seating arrangement here throughout the chamber. One of the concerns is when it comes to the courts during the day, having individual chairs is not always the best seating arrangement for potential angry family members or anything else. Pews are the way to possibly go, so we just brought these in to kind of look at size, spacing, and what we may be able to have in the future. So that's why we have a little mix of some wooden benches out there as opposed to individual chairs. So with talking to the council and individually with staff and what it takes to actually do a proper alignment, that may be the direction we go in the future or not. So that's why you see some extra pews out there. And that's it.
Will they be padded?
Well, we want the meetings to be as quick as possible, so padding might stretch them out a little longer. We're looking into different options, yes.
With those pews, will that be coming out of city budget or court budget?
No, they're actually either donated or will be a very small cost. We're not purchasing these at a regular rate. Yes. That's it. Thank you.
Councilmember Kerwin.
I don't have anything today.
Councilmember Jacobs.
Couple things. While we have Mr. Kern and Mr. Roney there, speaking of sidewalks, right out here on Central, they looks like they getting ready to pour. Are they doing a ramp right there also? Doesn't look like it's set up for one.
Set up what?
Right outside at the stop sign, by the police station. Oh, it's
Block and Central.
Yeah, Block and Central. Right at,
We believe there is a ramp there.
is there?
Crossing Central and Dawson. There is a ramp on the north side of Dawson.
Okay. What about on the south side?
South side there is not.
Because that's where the part of the street's dug up and looks like formed, ready to be poured.
I'll look into that.
Okay. And then also on our parking lots, are they, everything that's done beside, right outside that, the main driveway there, is that done?
Yeah, come up to the podium. This is Ryan from Hennessy.
Parking lot project, as you can see, is nearing completion. We still got a little bit of paving and some curb work here to do out on the north side of City Hall. They do have some punch list work that needs to be done. There's a few areas in the first phase of the parking lot that they need to mill down and resurface again. There's some spots where you can see where the stone is getting loose in the mix there, so they got to come back and do that, as well as they are going to restripe that first phase as well. We put in 9-foot wide parking spaces in that phase, which is the minimum requirement, but we've looked at that again, and we're going to change that to 10-foot spacing, so that will be done as well. I would expect that work to be done within the next couple weeks.
Okay.
Most likely it'll be done on a Saturday when the City Hall is closed.
Okay. In the back, behind City Hall there, I noticed it looked like where the police vehicles moved, some of them, you can see it dug into the asphalt already.
Okay.
I don't know if that's if it's done and that shouldn't be happening, or?
It shouldn't be happening. We'll take a look at that.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
That's all I had. And last thing, have a safe and enjoyable, quiet 4th of July.
Okay. Councilmember Earl.
Yeah, first, condolences to the McCarge family. Councilwoman McCarge's brother-in-law passed away, who happened to be someone that I've known as Mr. McCarge for a very long time. He was a really, really, really great person to know. He was a great family man, so I'd like to offer my prayers to the family. And I wanted to also wish everybody a happy 4th of July. I won't be in the area. I hope everybody stays cool and it's quiet and everybody has a safe time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Bettis.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Okay, I also want to send prayers out to Pat McCarge and her family and the loss of her brother-in-law. Also, Pat and Bob Squires, we're praying for you and thinking of you. And then also to Jaylee Lynch, she's dealing with some health issues with her mother, and our thoughts and prayers are with you as well. It's been a tough week on Garden City Council members, so keep us in your prayers. Pat Squires asked me to say happy birthday to resident Lois McGormley. So happy birthday, Lois. That's from Pat McCarge and all of us. And that's all I have. No further business this meeting.
Monday, Parks and Rec workshop. Just remind everybody for next Monday.
Next Monday, 6 o'clock
Yes.
at the police station.
Parks and Recreation workshop, just kind of an overview of the department itself and where they're going in the future with the resources they have. So
Okay.
it's a good discussion.
I think you just told them.
Thank you.
No further business. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.